comparison. This is L. Ron Hubbard. Now, I'm sure you all know about L. Ron Hubbard, but I'm going to tell you a story you don't know about L. Ron Hubbard. There is a typewriter hanging around. One day I went to a convention called PulpCon, and one of the dealers handed me this magazine, this weird deal issue, and he says, does this cover mean anything to you? So I said, well, I remember it was drawn, I probably read it when I was younger, and it's illustrated by Hannes Spock, an artist at the time. I said, you have a novel in there by Ray Cummings. Outside of that, I know no reason why I should be familiar with it. He says, well, I want you to know that the fellow on the far right, the low right, is L. Ron Hubbard. That is L. Ron Hubbard down there. Then I said, then the girl must be, and he said, right, that's Vita Jameson. There was a writer in the late 30s and early 40s called Malcolm Jameson, who was a submarine commander, but wrote science fiction and interplanetary stories based on submarine ships, so to speak, in space. And he had an actually beautiful daughter named Vita. And all us young fellows were trying to date Vita, but we never got very far. But the minute L. Ron Hubbard came into the room, it was all over. Vita went out with L. Ron Hubbard. So that's Vita Jameson and L. Ron Hubbard. This is Henry Hassey, a fan out in California, a writer, and I want to point out something I didn't reveal before. When I sold that first story of Ray Bradbury, it was a collaboration with Henry Hassey. Ray Bradbury was not completely satisfied with the story, so before he sent it to me, he asked Henry Hassey to do a bit of editing on it, and he insisted that Henry have collaboration credit. So he's the fellow that helped Ray Bradbury sell his first story. This is a fellow who almost I have to break out in tears when I look at him. He was one of the real top science fiction writers of all time. He wrote two of the best books of all time. The first one won the first Hugo for a novel. It's called The Demolished Man. And the second book, which is even better, but didn't win an award for some reason I don't know, called The Stars My Destination. If you don't know by this time, his name is Alfred Bester. Died a couple of years ago when he was supposed to be the guest of honor at the Worldcon 2 years ago. Unfortunately, he couldn't make it and died shortly thereafter. Now, the reason this fellow is important to me is that Alfie, before he made his breakthrough on selling those novels, was writing stories for Astounding and Building One and so on. And he wasn't making enough money out of science fiction. There weren't enough science fiction magazines to support him and his wife, so he wrote comics. And the comic he was given the assignment to write was Green Lantern. So Alfie Bester is the one who wrote Green Lantern, and he's the one that created the oath, the brightest day, and Blackest night, no evil shall escape my sight, and so on. And at one point, when I was having dinner with him, he advised me that the editor of All American Comics, which is a branch of DC, was leaving, and they needed an editor badly down there. He asked me to go down and take the job. I said, no, I've never read a comic, I couldn't handle it. But he finally persuaded me to do it. I bought a couple of comics, read them on the way in the subway on the way downtown, was hired for the job. So thanks to Alfred Bester, I became editor of DC Comics. 47 years later, I'm still here. Unfortunately, Alfie is not. This is a quick shot of Henry Kuttner, another famous fantasy weird writer called Clark Ashton Smith, and the fellow on the far right is E. Hoffman Price, another fantasy weird writer.
Was Clark wearing an earring? Was that a burn in the picture?
No, I think it's a shadow, probably.
Okay.
No, this is about 1937 or 38, I thought. I was a married man, but my wife didn't like to go to science fiction conventions. She didn't know anyone, and she felt uncomfortable. She would go if Edmund Hamilton would be there, and his wife, Lee Brackett. Now, I introduced Edmund Hamilton to Lee Brackett. If you don't know who Lee Brackett was, she wrote the screenplay for The Big Sleep, a very famous movie, all because William Faulkner, who was supposed to write the story, was too drunk and otherwise to do it, so Lee Brackett was hired to do it. Lee Brackett also wrote many of the John Wayne movies that had the word Rio Lobo, Rio this. Shortly after Ed, her husband, died, she came up to the office and we were going to have lunch together, and I saw she was very flushed, and I said, Lee, what's the matter? He said, don't ask me now, let's go to lunch and I'll tell you all about it. So we went to lunch, we each ordered a cocktail. She said, we clicked glasses, wished each other luck, and she says, wish me special luck, because just before I came up here, I got a telephone call from George Lucas to write The Empire Strikes Back. And Lee Brackett did indeed write The Empire Strikes Back, which is the second part of the Star Wars trilogy, Unfortunately, she died before she could do the rewrite. So I'll give you a rundown of the people at this convention. This is in Washington, D.C., 1963. There's Ed Weisinger, Maud's brother. That's me with the glasses. My wife is next to me. There's Maud Weisinger, Edmund Hamilton, Sam Moskowitz, chairman of the Price Wellcon. Complete authority. He wrote a book on fandom called The Immortal Storm. You should read it. It tells all about fandom in those days. Next to him is Chris, his wife. Next to people I don't know. On the far right is Lee Brackett, who of course was the wife of Edmund Hamilton. 1963 World Convention in Washington, D.C. Price Fandom was a group of fans, so to speak, who helped start fandom back in the 30s, and they had a letter printed or was anyway involved in science fiction, became a member of Price Fandom. And every year we award a Hall of Fame award to one of the members. And the convention I was in, Ray Bradbury is holding up the Price Fandom Hall of Fame award, giving it to Robert Bloch in the middle, who was stunned by the announcement, and of course I am applauding his receipt of the Hall of Fame award. Now strangely, this is 1935. Strangely enough, 1936, I hope I have my years right, a year later, at the World Science Fiction Convention in Atlanta, Ray Bradbury gave me the Hall of Fame award. So Ray's used to this stuff. Ray loves to give out awards. And thank God always to me. Here we are. I went to Lascaux. I was doing a series of graphic novels, and all the writers were living in California. And I said, wouldn't it be great if we did a panel with these writers? Now here are some of them who are gathered together. The fellow with the beat is Robert Silverberg. Next to him is Ray Bradbury. Next to him is Robert Bloch. Next to him is me, and next to him is that little squint, Holland Ellison. That's Holland Ellison. Some fan asked for an autograph by Ray Bradbury. He had nothing to write it on, so Holland leaned over and he allowed Ray to sign it. In my hand is a book that Robert Silverberg had done, and I was discussing with him. A terrible picture of me, I don't want to say it. In 1981, I was invited to San Diego Comic-Con to receive what is called an Inkpot Award. And I persuaded my wife to come, although she was reluctant to do so. I was already suffering from emphysema. But when she heard that Ray Bradbury would personally give me the award, she said she would accompany me. And there I am holding the award which Ray Bradbury had given to me. When I was about to walk off stage, Ray said, no, 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 we have another surprise for you. Come on up, Holland. And Holland Ellison bounded on stage with a manuscript in his hand, which you see him holding. And he says, I want everybody to know that 10 years ago, I promised to write a Batman story for Julie, and at last I've done it. And Julie, here it is. Okay, I went back, sitting next to my wife. Holland sneaks up behind me. He says, Julie, I only did the first page. I wasn't able to do the rest. 5 years later, the story was done, and appeared in Detective Comics with the inscription by Holland says, after 15 years, with love, Holland, something like that. In case you don't know, Holland is very late. Yeah, I have one more minute. Holland is very late in delivering things. He has a book coming out supposed to call Last Dangerous Visions. Now, my last slide has to do with this, because here it is. Whenever Holland is at a convention, he's always asked, when is your Last Dangerous Visions coming out? And he lifts up the shade and says, what Last Dangerous Visions? So this is the What Last Dangerous Visions on my last slide. Okay, thank you. Finish right on time.
Okay.
Lights.
Right.